Hi everyone, it's Andrew Shields from Marisa. I'm joined again by Paul. Paul, our video last time that we sent out was hugely popular. We had a huge number of people watching that video. So what we've decided to do is do smaller videos on specific subjects. And today, what we're going to be doing is about inspections, because you're getting a lot of questions around inspections from property managers. So what I'm going to do, throw over to you and see if we can help our property managers.
Excellent. So I'm going to cover every single possible form of inspection that you guys will be doing in the property management sphere. So first of all, guys, open inspections when there is no tenant. And of course, we don't call them open inspections anymore. We call them inspections by appointment only. So if there is no tenant present in the property, it is exactly the same as always, one-on-one. With appropriate social distancing measures and precautions as necessary. So if there is no tenant present, guys, then it is purely standard procedure, one-on-one with health precautions. Now, what about appointments by viewing when there is a tenant present? So a lot of people have been ringing me after my last video and saying, Paul, are you sure you're right? I think if there's a tenant present and we want to show prospective purchasers and tenants through, that we can't do it. That's not correct, okay? So even if there is a tenant present and you're wanting to show prospective purchasers and tenants through, these are the rules. So if there is a tenant present and you wish to show prospective purchasers through, then under the Residential Tenancies Act, Section 72, that is currently 2 times per week. You've got 2 options here, either at a previously arranged time with the tenant, which can be any time, even outside of normal hours. But if you don't agree with the tenant, or the tenant tells you to get stuff, they're not interested, then you have to give 48 hours notice, and it must be within normal hours, which everybody knows is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday. So, and no public holidays and Sundays. So, if you're showing a prospective purchaser through and there is a tenant present in the property, then once again, you're allowed to do that on 2 occasions in a week, and you either have to agree or not with the tenant. Obviously, once again, one-on-one with appropriate social distancing and health precautions. Now, the issue I had that I thought about actually on the weekend was you're only allowed 2 times a week. But if you're doing viewings by appointment only and you want to do what was formerly called an open inspection, you're going to have more than 2 private appointments a week, aren't you, Andrew?
You may have, yes, you should have.
What I suggest you do is that you say to the tenant, so rather than have your normal, and I have to call it open just to clarify, your normal open inspection, which will take an hour, okay, I am quite sure that SACAT, and especially given light of the new legislation, would allow for private inspections during that 1 hour. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. I think you would be allowed 2 1-hour time slots during that week where you can do your viewings by appointment in those time slots. Okay, I mean, I think SACAT are going to be quite lenient with this because obviously open inspections are banned now. Private inspections by viewing appointment are in. So if you're showing purchases through, guys, do it in 2 1-hour slots per week, and obviously try and come to an agreement with the tenant. Okay, that's purchases. What if you are showing tenants through the property, Andrew? All right, so for tenants, it's basically exactly the same again. You can't have open inspections. They are appointments by viewing, private appointments by viewing only. And you have several options here as well. You can either have these private appointments at the request of the tenant, that was actually brought in a couple of years ago, or in the last 28 days of the lease with 48 hours notice, and once again, guys, twice per week. So we have the same issue that we have with purchases, twice a week. We're obviously going to be doing more than that, aren't we? So once again, 2 1-hour slots, and slot in your prospective tenants in 15-minute intervals in those 2 one-hour slots during the week. Just make sure that with the one-on-one restrictions and the social distancing, you don't have people gathered by the door or in the garden or in the street because they're all lined up in their cars. So organise 10 to 15-minute appointments. Make sure that you tell the prospective purchasers and the tenants to wait in their cars. You can either go out to the street and get them, but we do not want to see gatherings in the street or in the garden or tenants coming and tenants leaving. So that is the situation with tenants and purchasers. They are still allowed, but one-on-one with social distancing measures allowed. Does that make it pretty clear, Andrew?
Absolutely. I absolutely think, and I think that, you know, what I would certainly recommend as well is that the property managers are in negotiations with either the sitting tenant, both from a purchasing point of view and a letting point of view. It's all about working together through this process. And there will obviously be scenarios where it doesn't necessarily fit with that particular model. You might have a tenant who has a child who has an immune system that is more vulnerable, et cetera, et cetera. So it's probably what I would call for is property managers to have empathy in that space as well and negotiate with the potential tenant so that you have a happy tenant, a good outcome. And you'll find that when you reach out and work with people in that, they tend to be more accommodating anyway. That's what I've found in my practice.
You definitely want those 2 one-hour slots too, because I mean, a property manager has got into trouble because they organised private viewings, which is great, but organised one every single day for the week.
Yeah, no, that's inconvenient.
Obviously was pissed off by that. Why on earth wouldn't you have slotted them all into that 1 hour time slot?
Yeah.
Okay, because technically speaking, guys, you are only allowed 2 inspections a week or 2 showings a week.
Yeah.
All right, now let's get to routine inspections. So routine inspections, as we all know, are banned person to person. All right, so under the new legislation, routines must be done by audio-visual means unless exceptional circumstances exist. I talked about this in the last video. One of those circumstances might be that somebody just doesn't have any electronic equipment to facilitate that. That would be an exceptional circumstance. The tenant has to agree, okay? The tenant is not allowed to unreasonably withhold their consent. So if the tenant was refusing to allow that, guess what? It's off to the tribunal for an order for access. A very common question I'm getting is, what if the tenant agrees, all right, to the routine being done person in person? That is not an exceptional circumstance, all right? As I said last time, that is a 50 shade of grey. It is inconsistent with the Modified Residential Tenancies Act, and I don't care if the tenant agrees, you cannot do it, all right? You can only do it physically if there are exceptional circumstances. And the only exceptional circumstance, Andrew, I can actually think of is if they don't have any equipment to facilitate that.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Now, another question I thought about that I don't think has been discussed anywhere is the final inspection. So if the tenant is leaving during this 6-month period, what do you do? Because technically that is an inspection under Section 72. And I remember once having this debate with a member of SACAT, because we all know that you're only allowed to do an inspection once every 4 weeks. But people do what's called a pre-final inspection 2 weeks before. And I always used to train, well, that actually goes against the once every 4 weeks because you're doing the pre-final and then you're doing the final. Anyway, on thinking about it and upon more research, I don't believe the final inspection is an inspection. I believe the final inspection is the ending of the lease and a purely administrative process. All right? And let's be honest, guys, there is no way SACAT or the government would expect you to do a final inspection on a laptop or a mobile phone. That's where you have to judge the state of condition of the property and the reasonable cleanliness of the property. You would not be fulfilling any fiduciary contractual duty to the landlord if you weren't in there physically inspecting. So I don't believe that the final inspection has to be done by audio-visual means. And in fact, I think only 5%, Andrew, of tenants are even present at a final.
Well, that actually, I was going to say that. I mean, certainly in my experience, the tenant isn't even in situ at that particular moment in time.
Although SACAT would love it if tenants were present, because sometimes you can get bond claims much more easily sorted out if they're present. You know, if there's a scuff mark on the wall, the tenant could just run and get a cloth and clean it.
Yeah.
PMs don't like it though, because it takes up more time. And if you've got a hostile tenant, or the tenant doesn't agree with you, or in fact, if you haven't renewed the lease and you're doing a final inspection. So I totally understand why PMs don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But if you do have a tenant, guys, who do want to be present, and we all, they do want to be present, and you allow them to be present, remembering, guys, you don't need to allow them to be present. But if they are present, once again, social distancing rules, one-on-one, sensible precautions. But I'm of the view, well, I think it's pretty obvious that a final inspection can be done physically, even when the tenant is there.
So,
and
Paul,
I think I've covered every possible scenario for inspection.
Would it be, I mean, just going back to the final inspection, as just this is an idea, would it be sort of acceptable that the tenant would be asked to stand or stay outside the property, and for the property manager to carry out a final inspection, and then if there were any issues, to bring the tenant into the property and say, look, here's a scuff mark on the wall, or here's some damage I'd like to bring to your attention, et cetera, et cetera. Would you see that as acceptable?
So, because the standard, which is, you know, sort of 2 people, blah, blah, it would only, it would be the agent conducting the final inspection. But if they've got the landlord with them as well, there's 2 people.
Yeah.
Plus they've got the tenant, so there's 3. But also don't forget, we're not restricted to 2 people in South Australia.
Yes.
We're actually still 10 people. So technically speaking, if you have the agent and the landlord present, you could request the tenant go outside. Tenant doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you could ask them to go shopping for one of those, you know, things that people should be doing still. Yeah. But technically speaking, even under the new rules, you could have an agent, landlord and tenant doing it. But once again, social distancing, making also sure that the 4 square metre rule is applied and everything, because there could be an argument that's an extension of your workplace, etc.
Yes.
So, yeah, but as I said, only 5% of tenants want to be present at a final, so it shouldn't be a problem. And as all PMs know, we never want the landlord to be present at the final inspection. So maybe just turn around and say to your landlord, don't be present. Maybe it'll be a good excuse to tell the landlord not to be present, because it's the landlord, Andrew, who expects the 10-year-old carpet to be in a better condition than when the tenant moved.
Absolutely, yeah. So every situation has a silver lining, and perhaps COVID gives us the silver lining in that particular instance. Absolutely.
And next week, Andrew, we are going to do mini ones on rent increases, because I'm still getting a lot of those. Break leases. And we're also going to run through the Form 2 procedures again. And if you PMs have any topics you would like me to discuss, simply send an email to me at paul.edwards@resa.com.au. Because it's only, you know, I'm sort of getting the same topics over and over on the Query Connect line. But if there's anything you want me to delve into greater detail, please let me know. So we'll be doing break leases on Monday, so stay tuned.
Absolutely. And just in addition to that, I do know that we're working on a landing page for documentation for property managers to also share information as well.
If they wish.
So if they wish, documents and things. So, you know, I know particularly in practice, a lot of agencies use comprehensive checklists and documentation. And we want to facilitate that. And what we don't want to get into a RESA branded form in respect to a lot of this information. But
everyone, and I mean, I would love to do a template, and you know, it's a very common question I get, but every agency is so different. Some are allowing waivers, some are allowing deferrals, some are doing payment plans, some are not doing payment plans. It would take about 20 different documents to actually cover every scenario. And just on that, guys, remember, if you are giving a rent variation, obviously the lawyer in me says do an addendum. You could just do a simple email, all right? Because you can always mutually agree to increase or decrease the rent. You can't increase the rent during this time.
Yeah.
But just make sure that you cover it off, that you have the period, and just make sure that you speak to the landlord about whether or not they want the rent back. Are you going to waive it or are you going to defer it? And as I said last time, don't expect them to pay a lump sum of the deferred rent the first week after this ends.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll have more of a chat on that on,
we'll definitely do that
on Wednesday.
Paul, thank you so much. You are the guru. Your advice is absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure our property managers are just going to love this information. Guys, we really thank our members out there. I know you guys are doing it really tough at this particular moment in time. You're chunking through a lot of information, a lot of emails that I'm getting. People are still navigating through this period. We're talking regularly to SACAT, we're talking to CBS, and in the commercial space, we're also talking to the Small Business Commissioner. We're also lobbying government on your behalf as well. But we are the industry peak body, and we do advocate very strongly for you. So my team at RESA want to thank you guys. And also, we're in a situation where we're going to keep bringing out information. I'm in regular touch with my other Real Estate Institute colleagues across Australia, and also the Real Estate Institute of Australia that lobby federal government as well. But we'll be keeping you posted of any developments. Read our newsletter that comes out every Sunday. Paul puts it together. He does an amazing job, and the amount of information in that is incredible. So look, guys, there's lots of information, and we like to be the point of truth in the industry. So stay tuned. We'll be pushing out that information. And thank you for listening in. And thank you, Paul.
I think we went longer than 5 minutes, Andrew.
I think we did. Okay, sorry, guys. We'll try to keep these things short. See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.